Welcome to the Mavens Do It Better podcast. And now, your host, Heather Newman.
Hello, everyone. Here we are again for another version of Mavens Do It Better podcast, where we interview extraordinary experts and mavens who shine a light in our world. I am here in New York City again. We are in World Trade Center 1, right? And we're 85th floor?
85th floor. Overlooking beautiful downtown New York City.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. So I am so excited to be sitting here today with Christine Bongard, who is the president and co-founder of the WIT Network.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Longtime friend and colleague. We've known each other forever.
I know, let's not age ourselves.
No. I just met her last week on the street. No. And we just saw each other at the Women in Cloud Summit in Seattle that you were heavily involved with. Yep. And with Gail Mercer-McKay as well.
That's right. And Jennifer Didier, two other co-founders of the WIT Network.
Yes. Lovely women who were speaking and you had a booth. And
that's right.
Very, very involved.
Yeah, we formed a nice partnership with Women in Cloud because we have unique audiences. Women in Cloud is really focused on helping female entrepreneurs get their start. And that's one of the WIT Network's many missions.
Yeah.
So it ties nicely together. They snap into our core mission. And so we formed a partnership, and they were gracious enough to invite us out to speak and also have a booth there.
Weren't there about 1,000 women?
Yes. I think they had 400 last year. I mean, they were expecting 600 this year, and
it was bananas.
They had over 1,000 people there. It was wonderful.
We did so it was at the Microsoft Conference Center on Redmond campus, and you could tell there were 1,000 women there by a lot of things, but one of them was because we did a takeover on the bathrooms.
Which is so unusual.
I know, the one men's bathroom had a piece of paper over it that was like, for today it's women. So that was pretty funny. So let's back up a smidgen. Tell everybody about the WIT Network, what it is, how it started, all of that
stuff. Sure.
Yeah.
We formed about 6 years ago. We had our first ever Women in Technology conference as part of the IAMCP then it was the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference.
Yes.
And we did a charity luncheon, and we did that for a few years. And after that, some women came up to us and they said, you know what, this event here is so wonderful and so meaningful. Is there a way to take this platform out to our local communities?
Right.
So we looked at each other, a few of us, and we were like, yes, let's find a way to make that happen. So a few communities got just going right away. Seattle, Southern California, Chicago. I believe those were the three of our first communities who got started. And from there, 4 years later, we have now just about 80 communities in 40 countries worldwide.
Wow. So
we really have had some rapid expansion. And, for me, that just goes to show the need for this type of community, the need for connecting women to women and supporting each other. And so this past year, we broke off from the IMCP, but only to rebrand as the WIT Network. We're still affiliated with the IMCP. We're going to be announcing a wonderful partnership opportunity for both of our members in the next month. And so we're grateful to them because that's where we got started, and they have been very supportive of everything that we've done. But our core mission is supporting women in technology. Everything that we do, whether you're just starting out in the industry, whether you're looking at making a career change, if you want to become an entrepreneur, if you're looking to get to the C-suite, if you want to get on a corporate board, right?
Moving
there's
on
so
up.
much. That's right.
Yes.
But there's so many different ways that women need help. We need to help educate. We need to coach. We need to mentor. We need to inspire. We need to tell stories. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, we have these local communities where women can connect, network, support each other, do fun events. and grow their professional and personal networks.
Right. Yeah. And so those of you who are listening, listeners, the IAMCP, just so we're clear, it's the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners. And so that's an organization that's been around forever.
Oh, like 20, 25 years, I believe.
Exactly. And so it's basically Microsoft partners who work with Microsoft. They join the organization, and then they have meetings monthly, and there's lots of networking opportunities.
Yeah, so that group's purpose is to connect partners with other partners, and to connect partners with Microsoft. Yeah. So if you are in the Microsoft channel and you're not affiliated with your IMCP community, you should be. Yep. It's $195. You join, you get to go to local monthly meetings. If you're traveling, you can go visit other places. You can visit their meetings. You get access to all their content. Yep. You get access to Microsoft, and then they do a whole bunch of stuff at the Microsoft Inspire conference in July. So,
absolutely,
it's a great organization.
Yeah, it's fun, and I've been around with it for a long time.
The website is iamcp.org.
Yes, correct.
And you can find your local chapter there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the IMCP WIT chapter NorCal, Sharon Chang and I started that. And that was sort of right after the first iteration, I think, of that. So, and Sharon has been holding the charge on that since I moved to SoCal. But it's been really fun to see that. It's just growing and growing and growing.
I know, all the chapters are. And we launched in September. We have almost 3,000 members now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really been great.
That's unbelievable.
Yes.
Wow, that's so cool. And I know that, your career trajectory as a woman in tech has been interesting. You're from Jersey.
I'm a Jersey girl. Me and Bruce Springsteen.
So how did you get started in tech?
Oh, geez. Well, yeah, we're going to have to date ourselves here. But about 25 years ago, I was working at an big insurance company. And my boss there, Neil Rosenberg, for those of you who may know him, he decided to go out and start a tech company. And he asked me to join him. Wow. And that was back in the early 90s. And, really, I had to learn, PCs were just busting out, right? So I had to learn how to build a computer, Windows for networks. Wasn't that the original, right? I learned how to build a network. I was doing cabling, and then I had to learn how to sell and how to market and how to do support and how to do training. And, eventually I worked my way through the whole organization. So, I felt that was important for me to be able to say, I built a computer, I built a network, I did customer support, I did training, so that when I talked to customers or I worked with my employees, I knew where they were coming from, right? You know? And so I kind of really have grown up in technology, and it's been a great, great ride. I love it. It's adrenaline pumping, and just when you think you have something figured out, it changes. And the whole evolution of being a Microsoft partner has just been a great experience.
Yeah, and right now you're working with different clients.
Yeah, right now I'm doing some consulting where I'm helping Microsoft partners, with various different aspects strategically for their business, and I love it. Yeah,
that's super fun. Yeah, and you mostly, geographically, are you mostly sort of working with like New York, New Jersey folks, or are you kind of all over the place?
Right now, New York Metro primarily, but the good thing about what I do is it's not specific to, it's working with Microsoft.
You're a consultant.
So you can really, I could do that anywhere.
Yeah.
I love it. We were just laughing before. It's kind of like I feel that this is such a family environment growing up in the industry. All the people at Microsoft, all the partners, and everybody moves around, and you wind up. I'm now working with people that I worked with 10 years ago in different capacities.
Wow.
So it's super fun to get, to be constantly reconnected with people. I love it.
Yeah, I think the Women in Cloud Summit was so great on so many levels. So congratulations to everybody on that event. It was lovely, and but it was hilarious because it was like I saw more people that I worked with, say, 10, even 15 years ago that I haven't seen in about 5 or 6 years at that event than I have in forever. Because it was like we were all concentrated together, and I was like, every time I turned around, I was like, oh my goodness, it was a lot of which was so cool. So yeah, that's so awesome. And I know with the WIT Network, You have a big, amazing event coming up
We
for
do.
International.
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
International Women's Day on March 8th.
Yep.
And that's something, by the way, International Women's Day has been around for hundreds of years.
Yes.
And for some reason, the U.S. has been slow to, pick up and celebrate
We've
that.
been slow on
right?
a few things around women's movements, I think. So.
Oh, geez. So since we branded, our own name, we thought, okay, let's have let's put a flag in the ground on an event that we can do every year.
Right.
And so this year it's going to be in Kansas City. And we picked Kansas City strategically because, first of all, it was central to the U.S. And we thought, lots of people can come in from all directions. Yep. And also, Kansas City has a massive tech hub, and I don't know that people know that,
right.
But it really does. And there's a huge group, Kansas City Women in Tech there. I think in multiple studies, it's ranked the number 2 city in the United States for women in technology.
Wow. Okay.
So we thought, that's a real nice place to launch this event.
Yeah.
And we'll move it around every year. We'll take a vote after this one and find the next city that will be good. But we're coming together for, I like to just say, simply put, education, inspiration, collaboration, and celebration, right? So we want to be educated about what's next for women in tech. What should everybody be doing? What are some practical, real things that women can do when they leave this conference to start to try to make a difference? We want to hear inspiring stories. Yeah. We want to collaborate with each other. We've got a great Mentor Circles event on Thursday night. We're all going to be working together to do some problem solving. And then we want to celebrate, right? Yeah. We have done a lot. Yeah. Even though every survey, every research report that comes out is still showing declining, not even stagnant or slow growing, declining numbers for women at the top in CEO positions, on the boards, on leadership teams, getting promotions, salary. Everything is still going down. Yeah. So I don't want people to get discouraged by that because movements take a long time and we have to keep at it, right? Yeah. But we have done a lot. And especially in this industry, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of great change happen all over. So we want to celebrate that. Yeah. We want to make sure we take time. They always say that, right? When you're, you have all these goals and you're moving along and everybody's always like, well, I didn't do that. I didn't get that yet. I didn't quite get there. I didn't hit that number. I didn't lose those pounds. But what did you do, right? Yeah, you always have to stop and say, let's be proud of what we have accomplished. So it's going to be a day of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I
can't wait.
A lot of people have a celebration journal or a gratitude journal. And I think, on an individual level, that's great. But I think it's also really, really powerful to celebrate together. So
Agreed.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, so we're excited. So you can go to our website, thewitnetwork.com, and then there is a conference page, and it has all the speakers. We have, oh my gosh, we have I think over a dozen sponsors, right? Wow. So companies like Microsoft, obviously, they're one of our founding sponsors, Cisco, NetApp, New Signature, Jabra, Robert Half, Live Tiles. Wow. I mean, the list goes on and on.
That's
and
great.
I love it because it tells me we're doing the right thing. When all these companies are rising up to support you, it's like, okay, yep, this is right? Yep. This has to be right. And then we have a great speaker lineup, and there's too many to mention here, but they can go to the website and see everybody that's slated to talk. And we're going to have a CEO panel. I'm doing a fireside chat with Coco Brown, who is the founder of the Athena Alliance, and that organization is all about coaching and helping women get on more corporate boards. And she's at her fingertips, has a ton of research, so I'm really looking forward to speaking with her.
That's cool.
And then we have a She-Novators panel, which is a program we created.
Say it again?
She-Novators.
A She-Novator.
Instead of innovators,
yes,
She-Novators.
Okay.
And it's going to be young students in high school that are doing great things with technology. I want to be inspired by them, right? The next generation.
Of
so
course.
We're excited about that. And so it's just going to be a great event. I can't wait.
That's wonderful. And there will be, and we talked a little bit about this, of course, Microsoft Inspires coming up, and there's always a presence there. So
that's right.
More to come, looking at the website.
More to come at that. We've been involved with the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference for 6 years, as I mentioned, and we try to put on a lot of different events to help people there, not just women, but men also. We'll do a mentor circles event on Sunday. We usually host a happy hour event on Monday. We'll have a leadership session. And then we have the big charity luncheon, which we hosted last year. We broke records. We had over 1,000 people. And I introduced Satya Nadella on stage, so it doesn't get better than that.
That was so awesome. I know. Well, and Gabriella Schuster, she's such a wonderful, sponsor of all of these things. And, as a female executive at Microsoft, has always been a champion for all of this. And what happened, everyone, was that, there was a planned, panels and talks and all of that stuff. And then there was this surprise at the end. And our surprise was,
Well, we knew about it, but nobody else knew about it. And I want to let everybody know, he was there because he wanted to be there.
Satya Nadella,
CEO
I got an
email. I got an email, by the way, that said, Satya Nadella is interested in speaking at your WIT luncheon. Is this something you would be okay with? And I thought, oh my gosh, what?
You're like, oh no.
I know. I was just right? Wait a minute, is this real? But and he had some scheduling conflicts, and they were going to pull him out actually at one point. And when he found out about it, he pulled his team together and he said, no, it's very important for me to be at that luncheon.
Right.
I want to speak to that audience. I want them to know this is important to Microsoft. And right there, he had me. Like, that was just a class act. And, he's an amazing leader. So I feel fortunate to be a part of a community where he is changing the dial for lots of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do want to just stop for a second. You mentioned Gabriella, and she is our executive sponsor. We would not be here today without her. She has made a lot of stuff happen for us. She's a leader. She's a friend, to many of us, and she is so inspiring. She believes in what we're doing. She holds us up. She guides us, and it's great to have somebody like her who's leading the way, paving the way, and just inspiring us in so many different ways to take this group and make it the best that it can be for our community. I feel very fortunate to be able to consider her an advisor.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's great. Microsoft has a great tradition of that, and it's wonderful to see sort of the next and the next and the next iterations of things that go along. And, speaking of, Satya and men and allies and all of that, I think with the WIT Network and everything that I think I've ever seen you all do, that, there's always been, the look at allies. We were talking before we started the podcast a little bit about, inclusion versus, not diversity versus for women and women only. And that there's, I think leveling up the conversation, the diversity is sort of what we are and who we are, and inclusion is how we work together.
That's right.
And knowing that, with the WIT Network, I've always seen, there's men at the charity luncheon, there's men, all of that. So
of course,
in having it be women in tech, it's about women in tech and their allies.
That's
if you want
right.
to put the parentheses on the edge of that. Will you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, we've said really from the beginning, we're not going to do this alone, right? Yeah. And the more that men understand the challenges we face or where we've been, what our stories are. I can't tell you over the past 2 years how many men have approached me to say, what is this all about? Help me to understand, right? Yep. They had never heard some of the stories. They're, everybody's in their own bubble, and so it's hard to know what's going on around you, right? But when they start here, and lots of women have told me this too, the same exact experience. Men will have asked them, tell me the story, what's going on, what's behind this? And then when they hear it and they get it, they say, oh my gosh, how do I help now?
Yep.
What can I do to help?
Yeah.
And so changing the dial is not going to happen from us being in a bubble and trying to do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
It takes listening, to understand, right? And then understanding how can men and women take action to make change.
Yep.
Right? When you're at a meeting and you're sitting around and there's 12 dudes at the table, ask, why are there no women here? Why, are there people of color in the room? The studies all show that every output from a collection of people that are more diverse is going to be a better output because of that diversity in the room, right?
Absolutely.
Better profits, higher revenues, better customer satisfaction, higher stock price, better employee satisfaction. And so if I were any man or woman in a room and I saw the scales not, tipped in the right way, you should question it. Let's make this group better.
Yeah.
And so I think the more that men understand that, right, because they're just used to it. Hey, I'm the only, I'm all dudes in this room. I'm used to that.
Right.
Then the more people start to question, I think then change will soon follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, yeah, men are welcome. Men are welcome at the meetings. Men are welcome at the events. Men are welcome on the webinars. And I have, I'm fortunate to have such a lovely advisory group of men that help coach me with everything that I'm doing with women in technology. Yeah. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a lot of the events, even the Women in Cloud and at Inspire and at our other Microsoft events, the Ignite conference last year, it was great to see a lot of male leaders bringing their teams.
Yeah.
And attending with them.
David Willis being one, right?
Yes, David Willis.
Yeah.
And, he's amazing. And so it was, I see a lot of our SharePoint partners, because that's the world that I play in, they'll bring their teams, not just send their teams like, hey, ladies, go to this. But it's, hey, let's all go to this. And then we all hear.
That's right.
Then we all can have a dialogue.
That's
then
right.
we all can have conversations about this stuff. So it's not just go all run off to your, women's thing. It's, you know what I mean? And it's let's go to this because it's important to us as a business, as a country, as a global community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that's really going to challenge us as an industry is that this diversity initiative is huge. I worry that there are a lot of companies and people that are just trying to check a box, and that they're the companies that are going to say, let's just send people to a seminar and say that we did it, right? That's not it. No. What you just said, let me go with my team, let me get educated, let's work together on solutions.
Yep.
That's where the magic will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk a lot about, is it in your DNA?
Yes.
Or are you bolting it on?
Yes.
Kind of thing. And, it's like with anything, movements and, there's a lot of interesting things happening in our own country and have been for a little while. But the women's movement has been around for 100 years. It's not like this is new. We stand on the shoulders of giants, of people with the ERA and all the right to vote and all of that stuff. So that it's been going on a long time, but that doesn't mean it doesn't evolve and change. Yeah. And that there's a new bandwagon of, hey, let's make sure we're doing these things.
That's right.
And I do like the fact that in, all the things that you put out, it is about the WIT Network, but it's in this umbrella of inclusion and
we when we formed, we did think about, do we go broader with a name that is more specific, less specific,
right,
and more focused on the bigger picture. But we got some counseling from Gabriella and some other leaders that said, you know what, there's so much to be done just still yet for women.
Sure.
Focus on that. Focus on that for now until that's dry and there's nothing more to do. Then you can, move on to some other groups. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to lead with the issue of women in tech, and then as a result, some of those programs will become more broad for other diverse groups. Yeah. And we start to really pave the way, make it easier for other diverse groups to follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's really, our plan. I had wanted to be more, broad, but they said, you know what, it's better there's just so much work to do. Just be a little more focused and stick with this, and who knows where we'll be in a year or two from now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with your programming too, having programs that are about certain things inside of what you're doing, that also makes it a larger umbrella.
That's right. So for instance, we have some webinars, we're titling them Be Your Best. And so we have one that we're doing with the founder of the National Association of Women Sales Professionals, right? Okay. She's going to talk to women about what makes women unique at sales and how women can use some of those characteristics and traits to make them better salespeople, right? So that's very specific for women. But we're going to do other programs on unconscious bias, which is for everybody, right? It's helping everyone learn and understand the biases we may all have that we don't even realize. You know, I have a great example of that. They say, you know, you see those ads for positions, and it'll say, "Are you a rock star? And come join our team." And well, I read a report, and it said, you know, women will never respond to that kind of an ad, right? Like rock star. First of all, women don't see themselves as rock stars. Typically, this is just generally speaking, not for everybody, but typically women don't associate themselves as a rock star, and so they would kind of maybe like shy away from an ad that sort of said that. Now, the funny thing is, I used to write ads that said that. Right. So when I read this, I went, "Oh my gosh!" Right. So that, you know, it's things like that you just don't even think about. And so we're going to run a program on that to try to help open the eyes, educate people on some of the biases. So our programs are going to go back and forth.
That's awesome. I had a conversation with another gal that was on my podcast, Alicia Dara, who is a public speaking coach and all of that. And when I think I introduced her, I called her a badass. And she said, she's like, I love it that you just did that. And I said, what's what? And she said, well, I just wrote a piece about why I don't like women being called badasses. And I was like, awesome, let's talk about that. And so we had this really interesting conversation of, you know, it's like, if you look at a book by, was it Jen Shapiro? It's like How to Be a Badass, and then Wonder Woman or The Rock Star or whatever. It's like, you know, there's so much of how words are important. And how we call things, and what I guess if you want to call it the patriarchal grid, you know, that we all sort of live in. And it's like, how are we conditioned, you know, even, you know, at an event where you call people, you're up on stage and you call people guys the whole time, and you've got an entire room full of women, and it's like, well, what do you say, ladies or people or humans or
I know.
You know what I mean? So it's this interesting like shift, I guess, in how we talk to each other and how we say things, and I think everybody's learning, you know, and hopefully people aren't getting, you know what I mean? It's hard though, with people like somebody who's been marginalized or people that have been taken advantage of. It's like there's very strong feelings there,
of course.
And so we were talking before we were podcasting a little bit about working in this space and how it shouldn't be easy necessarily, but sometimes it's not, because you're trying to understand and put out the right things and also not make mistakes in those ways. And I know you struggle with that
sensitive.
Too. Being sensitive and all of that. So,
No, I mean, I think we're just calling attention to a respect in the workplace that is long overdue, and for all groups, and also, you know, the whole initiative of just bringing more balance to management teams, you know, to C-suites, to help make the companies better. I mean, really, at the end of the day, there's just no evidence that shows it hurts. It only helps. So for me,
we want to see those numbers just keep going up.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all positive.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I have a final sort of question for you. So, I am very interested in sort of moments and the micro and macro moments of our lives. We've got big ones, right? That, you know, people graduating, marriage and deaths and all of that. And, you know, those big things that change you and move you along. And then the smaller ones that maybe are some sort of a spark. Do you have a spark or something that has happened when you were like, yes, and it sort of validated where you were, who you are, the path you're on, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure there's been a lot of them, but is there one that stands out, I guess?
I think this is what you're looking for. So, I was a female, this tech startup, and I was with my client, and we were actually in New York City, downtown. They were a stock brokerage firm, and they were moving into new space, and so they asked me to come with them to help do the plan out for all of the networking stuff. And we were all standing around in a circle, right? The building owner and the architect and the construction and the electrical and the plumbing, and, you know, I was there representing the tech, and So we were in a circle in this hollowed out space, and one of the men actually went around the circle to shake everybody's hand. And when he came to me, he skipped over me.
Oh, wow.
To dismiss me, I assume, because I was a woman, and, finished his way around. So a couple of the men looked at me, like when it happened, to say, uh-oh. Because I'm sure they saw my face.
Right.
So I waited until he got back into place, and then I walked over to him, and I said, I'm Christine Bongard. Nice to meet you. And I shook his hand, and then men started clapping.
Wow.
And for me, I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that sparked in me, this has got to change.
Yeah.
Because that's atrocious.
Yep.
And it's not respectful. It can't be tolerated. It wasn't necessary. Like, there's just a million things about that was wrong.
Yep.
And I think when that happened, like, I still remember it. It was 15 years ago or however long ago it was. And I'll never forget it. But to me, that's why I do what I do, right? In try to help influence the world in small ways. It doesn't have to be this big. And that's why I try to coach people. This movement is going to happen by everybody doing something small every day.
Yep.
And that action that I took, hopefully, changed him, and maybe not him, but other people saw it, and those other people I know we're going to never let that happen to that again. Yeah. And so, I thought to myself, we have to continually be calling things out, and in a professional way. You don't have to be a jerk. I wasn't a jerk to him. No. I didn't treat him badly after that. And so, when you see stuff, call it out. And that's why I say, when you're at a meeting and you look around and there are all men there, ask why. I had dinner with a Microsoft exec a few months ago, and she told a story that she went out to a client. They invited her out, and a Microsoft partner, and she went out to meet with them, and she went into the boardroom, and there were 22 men in the room and her.
Wow. So
she walked in, and she looked around, and she said, "Can anyone tell me what's wrong with this picture?" And they all stared at her. And she said, "Nobody knows what's wrong with this picture?" And they all sat there in silence. So she said, "Hold on a minute." So she left the boardroom and she went out into the floor, and she found a young woman, and she said, "Can you come with me for a minute?" And she brought her into the room, and they pulled up a chair, and she said, "Please sit down." And the woman sat down, and she looked back at everybody, and she said, "Now do you see what's wrong with this situation here?" Wow. And they were like, uh-oh. And she said, "I don't ever want to come back here to this again." And meanwhile, she went home, and her husband said to her, "You see that every single day when you go out. You have seen this for 20 years. Why today did you, know?" And she thought about it, and she said, "I don't know. I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing." And her husband said to her, "I know why. Your daughter is graduating college. Wow. And it's hitting you. She is going to be facing this. It's still, you've been dealing with it for 20 years, and now your daughter is still going to be dealing with it." Yep. And she was just like, that was it. So that was her spark. Yeah. She's like, "I'm done with this." So now every meeting she goes to, the first thing she has her admin tell the partner, "I'm not coming unless there are X number of women in the room." Wow. And that's how she's going to change it. Yep. And Gabriella has some changes that are coming. And everybody has to look to say, what can I do to try to enforce some change? Yeah. So I'll leave everybody with that, including yourself. And you're doing great work by talking to people about it. And that's really what we need to do. We just need to share stories. Yep. These stories are impactful, right? Yeah, you get absolutely. It. You're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And so we need to tell the stories, and we need to work together to try to make change. Yeah. And I love, thank you for sharing that. And that's exactly what I was looking for. So good. But, it can be so small. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like there's the times when it needs to be large and grandiose and all of that. But I think on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, these things, these changes, these words can be simple. That's right. One thing. And that's right. Thank you for sharing that. You're story. Welcome. You're welcome. Sharing that executive story. That's amazing. So
People can find information at the WIT Network.org. .com, my fault. And how do people find you socially in the world?
So we're on Twitter at the WIT Network, and we have a LinkedIn company page, the WIT Network.
Great.
So they can find us all of those places. And we have a great membership for people to join. And I also want to encourage, one of the things that we're starting to get some really great momentum with, if you'll allow me a minute to announce this, just because we're seeing, people are really liking this. We have these corporate memberships.
Okay.
So we just signed one with New Signature, right?
Okay.
They're an award-winning Microsoft partner. And we just did a whole blog up on it and a social campaign about it so what they did is they purchased a set number of memberships to provide to their women employees.
Right.
So women on boards to New Signature, they get a packet and they get a whole brochure on you've now been enrolled in the WIT Network.
I love it.
And they get access to all of our programs as part of being employed at New Signature.
That's great.
And now we have 3 other ones. Just as a result of that, we have 3 other ones now that we're onboarding. So that's an opportunity if you're a small business owner, a medium business owner. One of the things that we want to do is try to help them, right? They can't afford chief diversity officers, right?
Yeah, right.
So how do they go about making their place a more diverse workforce or getting educated and coached? Where the WIT Network can kind of step in and help them in that way.
That's awesome.
So that's another branch of something that we're doing, and I just wanted to mention that.
I'm glad you did. That's awesome.
So they can find us there, and they can connect with me anytime if anyone has any questions.
Yeah.
C Bongard at thewitnetwork.com.
Yeah, Bongard. C Bongard.
That's
So
right.
we'll put everything in the show notes as usual, y'all. So we
Great.
want to find her for sure. And if you're looking for that International Women's Day event, that is also up on that site.
It is on the website.
Tickets are still open, but it's going fast. So.
Yeah, there probably are only like 50 tickets left.
That's so exciting!
Yay!
Yay, that's awesome. Okay, well, cool. Well, my friend, always a pleasure.
Pleasure right back.
Thank you so much, and it's great to see you in your city.
Yes, in New York City.
Yeah,
I'll visit again.
I will, of course. So, everybody, thank you so much. That is another episode of Mavens Do It Better. You can always find our podcast up on iTunes, up on Stitcher. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play. And we're on our website, mavensdoitbetter.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at mavensdoitbetta, B-E-T-T-A. And wishing you another beautiful day on this big blue spinning sphere. Bye. The original music on this podcast was created by Jesse Case.